Welcome back to Wellness Wave Radio. Thanks for tuning in this morning to ride the wave with us. Each week our goal is to give you at least one suggestion that will make your life a little better. My name is Phil George. I'm a clinical biochemist, a certified personal trainer, and a health coach. Please remember that everything we discuss on the show is for informational purpose only and should not be taken as medical advice. Always seek the guidance of your medical professional. And we have a medical professional with us today, Kellie Hamilton. You've been one other time, right?
No, I think this is like 3 or 4 now.
Yeah.
I lose track, Phil. I lose track over the years, how many guest appearances I do.
So Kellie, why don't you introduce yourself, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Yes, so my name is Kellie Hamilton. I am a certified holistic nutritionist and owner of A Better Path to Wellness, which is an evidence-based holistic nutrition company. I work out of a home office here in Worcester, but we travel all around Worcester County, the western part of the state. We do corporate wellness, one-on-one speaking events. We put on workshops. We do collaborative events with other wellness practitioners in their spaces. And we really are just very passionate about helping people round out their care plan with functional nutrition, because nutrition is a huge piece that is missing in a lot of allopathic medicine care plans, which Phil and I are very passionate about. So we like to do that. And then I am also, as if I don't wear enough hats, a practicing surgical ICU nurse here in town at one of the major medical centers. So it's helpful to get somebody like Phil and myself on your team, because not only do I have one foot in holistic health, I have one foot in Western medicine as well.
Right. The other thing, Kellie and I kind of teamed up, and the whole thing is that we kind of bring I kind of bring more the theoretical stuff, and Kellie brings more the practical stuff.
Yeah.
So again, you're a practicing nurse. So we will see clients jointly a lot of times.
Yes.
And we do a lot of seminars together. In fact, Kellie, we have a seminar coming up.
We have an announcement. People have been waiting. This is kind of exciting. Do you want to do the honors? Do the honors. Go ahead.
Okay.
Tell them the deal.
Okay. So we've been trying to get a place. We're kind of like gypsies, Kellie.
I know we are.
We have. We're living out of a van, and no. So anyway, we want to find a home.
Yes.
We needed a home, Kellie.
We needed a home.
So the Greendale Y, we just finalized the deal with them. Kellie actually finalized the deal with them. So we're going to be doing seminars at least once a month, and there's a possibility, Kellie. We were talking to Jill, one of the head people over at the Greendale Y. There's also a Y on Main Street. Yes,
they are revamping. They're revamping the downtown YMCA. So if you're in that area of town, people have kind of been avoiding it for years. They're really redoing the whole area. Is looking really nice. They put in, a lot of new shops and stuff. And then Jill is working with the new wellness director, and she's coming on the show. She can talk more about that. But they are trying to give it a whole, facelift and make it this awesome, place that people want to go to again. And we could be extending it to there if all goes well, and offering it 2 times a month on different days and times to increase availability for people.
Right, so we're going to hopefully have, because the Y already has, obviously a set customer base, so we'll be bringing people in from there. So you're welcome to come, and our seminars are entirely different than anything you've ever seen before.
Yeah.
So we joke around, we give out prizes, we run it kind of like Trivial Pursuit, right? We ask questions, and then we give out little tokens, and you identify as Vanna White, right?
I am Vanna White. I'll go around and we'll put you on the spot, ask you questions. You get some coins. You get awesome prizes between the sponsors of Phil's show and all of the amazing wellness practitioners that so generously donate prizes and consults and gifts and all different things. We're going to have a great lineup for 2026. I'm very excited about it.
And again, if you have an organization, again, we've done senior centers, we've done all over. I was also, when I was having my blood drawn by a phlebotomist, she had a running club, and she was interested in maybe having us come in and do that. So it's pretty much, if you have a group, or if you're at work, and right now health insurance is going through the roof.
It is.
So we want you to be healthy. So even if you're an employer and you want healthy employees, because Kellie, what's the most expensive part of a business?
Your employees.
Yes.
Yeah. They are your assets, and they can really affect your bottom line.
So we want to. So there's, again, we're versatile. We can do a lot of different things. But I think I want to emphasize. It's funny because one group hired me at one point in time. In fact, you're doing the group now, a veterans group.
Yes.
And when I met with Bill, I said, look, I can give him all the information in the world. I can give you the X, Y's, and Z's, when A goes to B, blah, blah, blah. But unless I can motivate you, my job is not to give you information. Our job is to give you information, but it's to motivate you to take action.
I have to tell you, what an amazing group of men, and I say men because it's all men. There are no women that happen to go to the coffee social that I do. It's Tuesdays. If you're a veteran, you can go Tuesdays at 8:30. It's free coffee, treats, camaraderie. I have to tell you very quickly. So my husband came with me to the first one, and I said, "Oh, just come with me and take some pictures." And you're a vet. They're probably going to be older than you. We walked in, and I thought it was going to be like 8 or 9 men, drinking coffee and sitting there, and there was about like 40 of them.
Oh my
and
God.
My husband looked panicked for me, and then I started panicking, and he goes, These guys are not going to care what you have to say. And I was like, you know what? I'm here. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to be me. I'm going to motivate them. I'm going to give them the information, and that. I've been back 3 times, and this group of men, they want to know. They come, they ask me questions, they bring their supplement bottles. They're like, when are you coming back? Can we talk about this? And they are just so amazing and so lighthearted, and they are one of my favorite groups to speak to. So if you're watching this and you're a veteran and you feel alone, or you want some help, or you want some free nutrition and health information, please follow. Ask Phil and I. Project New Hope Tuesdays. I go 1 Tuesday a month, but they do it every Tuesday for the camaraderie piece. So it's huge, and I love speaking for them. I've really adopted a lot of them into my heart, and I just love the veteran population so much.
Right. The other thing that I'm finding, and I think Kelly will agree with this, is right now with allopathic Western medicine, I like to call it diagnose and adios.
Yeah.
They get 10 to 12 minutes to sit with you, and the way it works, and you feel free if you want to disagree, is what happens when a physician sees you, they get about 12 minutes. So normally what they do, they either give you a prescription for something, or they give you a procedure for something. There's something in medicine called fee for service. Mm-hmm. All that means is I only get paid if I do a certain thing, and there's a checklist. I get paid to give you a medication. They don't get paid to sit down with you and say, are you stressed? Are you exercised? Is your wife beating you? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, the reimbursement rate is either non-existent or so low for that type of consulting through your PCP that it really relies on the adjunct services, and a lot of those adjunct services are not covered by insurance, which is a really broken part of that model. And I'm really hoping we see that changed, because healthcare costs are rising and people are utilizing, you've had concierge primary care physicians on your show, you've had holistic physical therapists on your show, I'm on the show. A lot of us are direct, they call it direct patient care, direct pay. I always try to work with people, put payment plans available. I offer to, work with your primary care physician to get you a note that says, hey, I'm recommended I work with a nutritionist or a nutrition coach or a health coach, and then you can try to get reimbursement or a fraction of that reimbursed on your insurance, which I have had some clients have success with that, which is great to see. I would like to see that be available for everybody, but I know it's getting more and more expensive to take care of yourself, which is alarming, but we have to make funds and time to do that.
It was interesting, because I mentioned I did a seminar down to an assisted living facility, and these people all 70s and 80s, and it's not a nursing home. And I went in there, and I did my dog and pony show, and I give out chocolate bars, in fact.
Oh, no!
I couldn't. We normally give out gift cards to New Chicken and New Kitchen, healthiest restaurants out there. That's what we do. Again, if you come to our seminars, that's what you're going to see. But I was giving out chocolate bars, and anyway, so I remember walking around to and there was one woman in particular. She was sitting there, and we talked about about health. Well, how important. In my opinion, your 2 most valuable assets are your time, because at time's the ultimate currency, and your health.
Definitely.
But actually, your health is even more important, Kelly, because you could have all the time in the world, but if you're feeling like crap, you maybe wish you had less time.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the whole point is, because you get older, it doesn't mean that you have to go downhill. So when I saw this woman, and I said to her, I said, you know what? If I could wave a magic wand over you and make all of your illnesses go away, how much would you pay me?
Yeah.
The look on her face was, I'll pay you anything. I said, oh, imagine, okay, you have a young person like yourself, okay, and you're in great health. And I said to Kelly, I got this billionaire, okay, and he's got diabetes, blah, blah, blah. Would you trade places with him. Would you trade for his billions of dollars for your health? I guarantee he'll trade you those billions of dollars in a heartbeat. Nobody would do that because it makes no difference how much money you have. So even though, you know what, guys, even though it may cost you something to see Kellie and myself or go to these seminars, the other thing, what I say to clients, Kellie, is this. Imagine, can you identify as my client, Kellie?
I can, yes.
Okay. So, Kellie, my whole goal here, working with you, is I want you to fire me as quickly as you possibly can.
We say that to people all the time. I just said that to somebody this week, you know, and I do a lot of like podcasts and interviews and stuff like that. And I always tell people, I'm like, nursing, I'm still a nurse. I'm always going to be a nurse. I'm always going to keep my nursing license, whether I do this full time or not, because it's my backup job. Because I win if I put myself out of business as a nutritionist. Not many people will say that to you and actually mean it. No, I mean it. Please, hire me. Put me out of business. I would love that. I can go back to the bedside and retire as a nurse, and that's fine. I won't love it as much as I love this, but you know, the good news is there's always going to be people to help. But I do hope that we put ourselves out of business doing this, because that would be the ideal, perfect world. You know, people want to talk about universal health care and free health care, and that sounds good on paper, but when you look at the countries that do that, America will never be one of them, because our costs are too high and we're too sick. And we don't do preventative health very good in this country. Other countries that have that, you know, you look at Spain, Canada's kind of the outlier, but you know, Australia, Italy, like they are healthy, they walk, they eat good, they don't have all these chemicals in their food. It's easy for them to do that with the statistics and the numbers they have. We can't do that in America. You can sit here and debate it all day long, and yes, it looks like a good principle, but it won't work with how sick we are right now here. So we gotta get the kids, we gotta get the younger generation, we gotta get the Gen Z, we gotta start, you know, you talk about health span versus lifespan when you just said that, you know, you can, you know, whether you're young and sickly or old and sickly, and you might want to have less time, that's huge. You know, you gotta weigh what your health is to you, because it is your whole life. It's your whole life.
The sooner you get started, a good example is, because I kind of do I'm a clinical biochemist, which means I kind of look at lab work. That's kind of my specialty. So what happens is a lot of people don't realize this. And one of the things, normally when Kellie and I collaborate, I'll get their lab work and Kellie sends it over to me, and I'll go over the lab work and make recommendations, and then Kellie will do the nutritional piece and other types of stuff. But one of the things, the big problem now is something called, people call it type 2 diabetes, but in actuality, it's not the sugar, it's the insulin. It's called insulin resistance. And a lot of people, and a lot of physicians don't know this, but 10 to 20 years before you come down with type 2 diabetes, your insulin is through the roof.
Yeah.
The way I like to explain is this, Kellie, make railroad tracks like this. Everything's parallel. So as you know, what happens is your pancreas gives out the insulin. So when you have sugar in there, it wants to get it the heck out of there. So it secretes the insulin. As you eat more and more sugar, you require more and more insulin. So right now, let's say your blood sugar is 100, your insulin's 100. Those aren't the correct numbers. But all of a sudden, it's like this, Kellie.
Yeah.
So even though they're looking at your fasting blood sugar, at your hemoglobin A1Cs, what's happening is your insulin is screaming at you.
It's easy to manipulate those numbers too. Anybody can fast for random glucose. You know, I test them for people all the time, and they're a good indicator to know if, you know, in the moment, but it's not good. It's not a good predictor of disease, like you're saying, as a whole.
And what Kellie and I do is we're going to say, order these particular lab works, because your doctor's probably not going to order it.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is going to give you the head start, because you don't want to wait until you're on fire to put the fire out. You want to start it, but you want to stop it before it happens. The sooner we can get involved with you, the sooner we can get you healthy, or hopefully reverse it.
So that's like the whole push for Phil and I's community health seminars at the Y. So just to recap, our first one's going to be January 11th at 11 a.m. in their beautiful room on the main level there at the Greendale Y, if you've never been. And it is open to non-members. I don't want anybody to think they can't come. You do not have to have a Y membership. You just walk up to the desk, tell them you're there for the health seminar if you're not a member. I'm actually trying to get Jill at the Y to donate some day passes. So if you come, you can win those, and have a beautiful, day membership to the Y and use all their amenities. So that will be great. And you're going to do the 70 Years of Madness, and we're going to talk about labs and what, I think what I'm going to do is I always type up a resource to give people. I call it kind of the refrigerator resource. And we are going to talk about what labs you should have and why. And then you can go home with that script, so the next time you have a PCP appointment, you can say, these are ones that I would like you to try to bill for my insurance. And if you can't get them from your insurance, or they tell you they're not going to be covered, which might happen for one or two of them, usually the vitamin D, and there's usually two other ones. We have friends that own labs, Art Point Labs, and a few other places in the area that are really good to our clients that give great deals on lab draws.
This morning, when I was at the gym, a friend of mine, or a fellow gym rat, he says, I'm seeing my doctor, blah, blah, blah. He says, he's gonna do it on his own. And what I did this morning, in fact, Kelly, I typed up all the lab work that I wanted to have him done.
Yeah.
And I found out, how much it would cost on Quest. It was like small.
The walk-in Quest rate, is, when you say you're not using insurance, is also very affordable as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So in other words, if you private pay, so Kelly has access to labs. So in other words, if you private pay it, it's a lot less expensive.
Yes.
So even if they don't cover it, but again, these are all what they like to call the canary in the coal mine. What's happening is your body's telling you there's something wrong, but you can't change what you don't measure. Because again, this is what I did for 20 years. I just looked at lab work and over and over again and see what's going on, and we can reverse it. But if you wait and all of a sudden your insulin's up here, then your blood sugar starts going up. Your cells are becoming resistant to it.
Yeah. I'm telling you guys, for $10 for an hour of this kind of information is, you can't get it anywhere, and that's why Phil and I want to do it for the community. $10 come, you're going to leave with more than you left with as far as knowledge, prizes, resources. So we're pumped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we give out these little coins, and we have a whole. Remember, maybe it's young for this, but they used to be at the old carnivals. You go, you shoot, and you win a teddy bear or something like that.
Yeah.
Or you get a pick, right? The top. So what we have people donating things like New Kitchen and New Chicken and other things.
Yeah, and many others. Yeah.
And you can come up there and pick your prize. So if you get the most tokens, let's say you answer the most questions, you get the first pick.
Yep.
But usually almost everybody walks away with something. Yeah. But the other thing we found, we've done quite a few of these seminars together. At the end, we get bombarded with questions.
Oh, we leave plenty of time. Yeah, Q&A, we do a Q&A, like for the group, if you think your question would be helpful to anyone. And then there are some people that have questions that, I'm very in tune to that, you don't want to ask publicly, which is totally fine with Phil and I. We usually will hang around for a little while. You can approach us, and ask us a question privately. And we're happy to have a conversation, with you about that.
Yeah, so there's, again, it's different. The whole point is, again, probably, let me ask you a question. So in all of your years of college, how many, actually even middle school and high school, how many professors you really remember that really made an impact on you?
So funny you say that. I was just telling my girlfriend I was having major school flashbacks last week. The East Brookfield school system teachers were very, very good to us. And I can remember probably about 6 or 7 offhand, which I think is more than most people.
Yeah,
way more.
Way
but
more.
I was a very small, we only had 30 kids in our class because East Brookfield's population is so little, up until I was in 6th grade where they regionalized us with Spencer. So, we were very close to those teachers. But I know most people can only remember one or two.
Yeah, one or two. Most people say, because what happens is, and again, teaching is a great profession, but in my opinion, to make a great teacher, you have to also be a comedian and an actor. Yeah. I remember when my son was going to Burncoat, and one of the teachers there also happened to be the coach of the women's tennis team, and I coach tennis, so we became really good friends. In fact, we meet at New Kitchen and we just talk about stuff. And I remember my son coming home one day and being all excited. Do you know what Miss Kalisa said? Miss Kalisa said blah blah, and he's all excited. Yeah. And my good friend Jim Kane, another tennis coach, he taught for a while. And in fact, he said they would give him the difficult kids for whatever reason. Yep. And the teachers would be walking by his classroom. He'd be jumping up and down. He'd have the kids, play out the whole thing with the Revolutionary War. Yeah. You're George Washington. and you get them involved in it, and get them involved in it. You're making science or history living, as opposed to just.
You want it to be entertaining, so people retain this information. Speaking of retaining information, you haven't commented on my.
Oh.
You haven't commented on my holiday sweater, Phil. Phil had one on, but it was green on our green screen, so we had to take it off. Do you remember what it said? What did your Christmas T-shirt I brought you say?
Something to do with bulky
Frosty the Swole Man. Get it? Like, because he's swole. But that's okay. So I'll just rock the Christmas sweater today. But the holidays are coming, Phil, and we get a lot of questions about help during the holidays, right?
So why don't you start off? So now we're gonna everything's the turkeys and everything's coming out. So what are some hints,
Christmas
Kellie?
Cookies. Yeah. So several clients that I've just onboarded ask me, and it's a stressful time for everybody really, and then it's hard for people who are setting goals, right? And I love that people want to start now and not just wait till January 1st. I always say it is never. You do not have to wait for a specific date on the calendar to start working on your goals. Every time you pick up a fork or a piece of food, it is a new time that you can start, fresh. So a huge one around the holidays, obviously, and Phil loves to talk about biology, you can have all the willpower in the world, but the holidays is more about biology, right? So you're out of routine, you have a lot of these foods that you're not eating on a regular basis, and it affects your hunger hormones, it affects, your sleep schedule, it affects, we're creatures of routine, mammals being the way we are. So things that you can do that I tell people, and you even said this was a great idea, and you don't have to just save these for the holidays. These apply for vacations as well as family gatherings all year round. But I love to tell people, have a scoop of protein in either like a plant-based milk or a water or, a good quality regular, cow milk on the way to your event, because it'll help fill you up a little bit. It gives you at least, you get 20, 25 grams of protein right off the bat. And it's also like a really good cost-effective way to save money. If you have to go somewhere that you have to buy your own food at an event, a lot of people sell tickets for things. And the economy is hard for some people right now. You can get a really good quality protein powder for cheap. We use full scripts with our clients, and you can really utilize that to stretch your means further and help reach your goals. Another thing too is that, socially, where do we spend a lot of our time? In the kitchen, right? That's where people congregate. That's the heart of the home. People love to say that. Now, with that said, when you're at a holiday party and you got a lot of people around, I always tell people, the Framingham study that we cite, in a lot of health research says, happiness, smoking, obesity, depression, it's all contagious. You mimic people's behavior when you're around them, for a period of time. So if you're at a holiday gathering and you and I are kibitzing and I'm sitting, at the kitchen island and I'm snacking on cheese and crackers and you're looking at me, it's only a matter of time before you
monkey see, monkey do.
Exactly. So I always say, grab somebody and let's go get a drink, or let's go sit on the couch. Try to move yourself away from where the primarily, the food is being served. That's huge too.
Let me interrupt you.
Yeah.
So have you heard of the glucose goddess?
I don't know if I've heard of that.
Okay.
I kind of like that. That sounds fun to say. Yeah, I like that.
Glucose goddess says you want to dress your food.
Yeah.
Well, you're saying. So what happens is, if you what Kellie's talking about is basically is protein. Is protein is what they call very thermogenic, which means it takes your body a lot of energy. So you're burning calories making it.
Yeah.
But it's also very satiating.
Yep.
So what happens is, like Kellie's saying, before you go in, have a little protein, because what happens is, and then you could maybe then the sugar afterwards, because when it slows down the absorption of the sugar. So the glucose goddess said you dress your food.
Yeah.
The other thing you had talked before the show was also just drinking a glass of water.
Oh yeah, that's a good tip. Yeah, I always say 1 to 2 glasses of water before you go. You never want to drink too much water when you're eating, because you can dilute your stomach acid, and if you're prone to digestive issues, that's an issue. But I always say half an hour before, drink 2 big glasses of water. You're going to be hydrated. A lot of people drink during the holidays. Alcohol consumption rates are the lowest they've been in years, which makes me thrilled to see that, because that's another show we could do. It directly correlates to cancer rates. it's a legal drug. It is what it is. People enjoy it. I'm not sitting here. I enjoy a good espresso martini around the holidays and a good glass of red. But my husband and I made that a health goal of ours. We don't drink as much as we used to in our younger days. We just don't. It's not worth the health risk to me, and apparently a lot of other Americans. But I do find people drink more around the holidays. So we have great mocktail recipes. You can go on A Better Path to Wellness, Instagram, Facebook, and see what recipes for those are. But, drinking water will help with that. It's the cravings of alcohol. Try to do a glass of water in between each alcoholic beverage that you have. That'll also, because the more alcohol you drink, it's going to make you hungry because you activate all those those parts of your taste buds that want you to eat sugary, carby foods.
Right, to get it down.
Yeah.
Let's do some biochemistry.
Okay.
So for the listeners out there, so what we have called your hunger hormone called ghrelin.
Yes.
So think of gremlins, right? Gremlins in your stomach.
Yeah.
Gremlins in your stomach. The other part is called leptin.
Yep.
So what happens with leptin? That's telling you I'm hungry. I'm hungry. So what happens? Kind of the ghrelin shuts down the leptin.
Yeah.
So what happens? What Kelly's talking about? If you're doing the protein, what happens? It's calming down the gremlins.
Yes.
It's calming down the gremlins. You're
Yeah.
calming down the gremlins. So you're not going to be as tempted to have that extra pumpkin pie or this.
Yeah.
What's the old Alka-Seltzer? I can't believe I ate the whole thing.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that, the TV commercial.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's what it is. So
Yeah.
you can kind of prep yourself.
Yeah.
So that you're not going to pig out.
And building a plate is key too, right? So, we can talk about avoiding desserts, and that's a huge, I want to stress this too, and I was talking to Phil about this off camera. The holidays, if you have goals, are not just meant to be super restrictive, okay? Like, we're real people. Like, my mother makes these amazing, like, citrus orange cookies that have, like, a confectionery frosting on them. We don't have them any other time of the year except the 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. I look forward to those every year. I'm going to go home with a plate of those and put them, in my freezer. I'm going to have a couple on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And you should do that. It is a very emotional, nostalgic, family-oriented time for a lot of people, and food is the center of that. We want you to enjoy your food. You got to do it in moderation, though. Put the protein on your plate first. I think setting an intention, you and I talk a lot about mental health and like how powerful the mind is, all the time. And I think people forget that. Set an intention before you go to a Christmas party or Thanksgiving or a gathering and say, all right, I'm going to eat till I'm 80% full. I'm going to drink water between meals. I'm going to eat all the protein I put on my plate first before I have the sweet potato pie, the green bean casserole, the cranberry sauce, homemade or from a jar, depending on what kind of person you are. That's a big debate. Do you know about the cranberry sauce debate? We'll have to talk about that off camera. But so, and I think that's a huge piece too, is mind over matter and having a plan when you go in instead of just saying, well, it'll be what it'll be, because then you're going to become completely derailed.
We're going back to habits. Really good book, James Clear, Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
What happens, it takes about 28 days to get a new habit. So if you're used to doing what Kelly's talking about, having your protein first, it becomes an automatic thing. You can get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to do this. You're doing the same thing over and over again. It takes a while to build a habit, so don't get discouraged.
Yeah. New research shows up to 258 days. So that's old research. It's the minimum is 28 days, but for some people, it's 258 days.
But you know what I think that is? It's because you don't have good habits to begin with.
Yeah.
Once you can do one thing, basically, then it becomes It becomes easier to do something else. I have another study I could tell you. So, you've heard of comfort foods. Guys have heard of comfort foods.
Oh, yes.
Do you know when women eat comfort food, most of the time is when they're upset.
Oh, yeah.
Men eat comfort food when they're happy.
Oh, really?
I found that interesting.
Yeah,
so it's a different,
emotional response.
Yeah, emotional,
to
different. So men and women, again, and we're all a little bit different, but obviously in terms of the genders, we're different with that. So what's causing you to do it? So maybe, can you identify as a woman?
Yeah, I can, yes. Yeah, fully.
So what happens if you say, geez, I know I'm going to pig out with the comfort food when maybe you need to think about something to get you out of this mood. Maybe you need to go out for a walk around the block.
Yeah. So that's a huge thing too, and people think these breathing exercises and these mindfulness things are so like nuanced or new aged or, you know,
Woo-woo.
yeah, I was gonna say whatever you do, woo woo, yeah. And you know what, there's so much research to back them up. So if you find and I do, you know, I'm not an eating disorder specialist, but I do take on clients that either have that in their history that has been, you know, worked on and already worked through. And you have to be very careful with these clients. And I do tell them, you know, if you find that you're triggered by this time of the year or a certain party or something, take 2 seconds, go to the bathroom, go in a corner, deep breathe, do, you know, the box 4-4-4 breathing, 4-7-8, whatever, pick whatever. It doesn't matter. I tell people, it's like the numbers don't matter. And, you know, take some deep breaths, reset yourself, think about, you know, your goals, what you're doing, you know, say, you know, there's always the next time I eat, everything's going to be fine. Like, don't make more stress for yourself during this very stressful time for people at baseline. The environment, the food, the social activity, that's supposed to be the fun part of the holidays. And I think it gets lost in all of the dieting and the restrictiveness and everything else.
You got to be careful. So we're coming up to the end of the show. So why don't we, how can they reach you?
Yeah, a better path to wellness.com. We are on all socials, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We give tons of free wellness content. We share the shows that we're on. We share clips from our seminars, podcasts, recipes, fun facts, the latest research we read. We go on and we share that with you guys. So please follow us, be part of our community on there. We do giveaways and things too, so you'll find us on there.
And again, you can email me, philgeorge@charter.net. And what happens, feel free to email me, because on my show, if I get an email, what I'll do is I'll read it on the air. Because if you've got problems with this, other people have problems. I won't mention your name, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's the way, again, to get into it and to get you back. So you don't have to, and again, the problem with Western medicine is, again, if you could even see a doctor. The other thing the Dr. Chia was talking to you about,
Yeah.
that was on the show last week, I saw her on the parking lot, and she's like frantic on the phone. And I said, "What are you doing?" She says, "I'm taking notes." What happens is when the doctor leaves the patient, they have to document everything.
Yeah.
What she calls it is pajama time, Kelly.
Yeah, they go home and do it
They go
sometimes
home,
at the end of the
so
day.
they get the whole day, then they go home. I don't know if I told you this one. The other thing they found out, they found out like 20 or 30 years ago, it would take, you know, several years to double medical information.
Yeah.
Now it takes 72 days.
Wow.
72 days.
Yeah.
Doctors can't keep up with this stuff.
Yeah.
We were talking before the show, the whole thing in terms of lithium. I think lithium's really good for the brain.
Yeah.
And you were talking about what now?
Creatine.
Creatine.
Yeah.
They're up in the dose.
We should do a show on that. Well, I'll come back.
Yeah,
we'll
come
do
back.
A show
We'll do a whole
on
show
it.
on supplements, but doctors haven't heard of this stuff because, again, they're working a zillion hours. They're doing this, they're doing that, and they have to follow standard of care, and they can't be looking at all this stuff. So they don't have the time. So that's kind of what.
So you should work with Phil and I, is what we're trying to tell you. Yeah, we do free consults. So pick up the phone, call us. We'll talk to you. If we feel like we can help you, we're here for you.
And we want you to fire us as quickly as possible.
Exactly.
Okay. So guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for coming on, Kelly.
Happy holidays!
One of the most common questions I'm asked as a biochemist and health coach is, what are the best supplements to take? Choosing supplements is a tricky business. Many companies have poor quality control and questionable ingredients. In the past, I had to send clients to several different websites. I am now able to offer one-stop shopping for all the quality brands I recommend, with no shipping cost and a lower price in most cases. Just email me, philgeorge@charter.net, for a free consult.